vote in that. I think that came out about 8 o'clock this morning, about cutting certain programs that they deem are not necessary. Is that real, or is that a negotiating tactic?
Oh, it's very real. And the Democrats should know that they put the White House and the president in this position. And if they don't want further harm on their constituents back home, then they need to reopen the government. It's very simple.
All right. So Caroline Leavitt was asked earlier in a press conference. President Trump posted an AI that talked about, he posted on his True Social that talked about med beds. Can you talk about that? So Caroline Leavitt basically just said, look, that's President Trump's personal account. He can do what he wants on it. And if he feels he wants to put something up and take it down, that's what he did. And then they went on. So that left the pregnant question of, what about those med beds? So that was dropped. That was dropped on the American public, because we've been talking about that for a long time, haven't we? And now we see President Trump dropping it and taking it back, right? So just like putting it out there, making a little ruckus within the deep state, because, they benefit from making us sick and killing us off, right? So we have the med beds, and we lasted a long time. We were able to get a lot smarter than a lot of people really need to get a lot smarter, and they need a lot of time. So that we need those med beds to help these people that are, have the Trump derangement. So that's one of the things we're going to get with the med beds. We've talked about this for a long time. Of course, I've talked about the LifeWave, which is wearable med bed. So I'm going to have a little clip about that in a second. But let's look at a little bit different information about this. President Trump has said, well, the lamestream media has said that he's going to use the government shutdowns for firings and punishment. All right. So it's going to deflect from the Democrats. So the Democrats are causing this. So again, the people that are, mentally compromised, right? You know how I like to say that, consciously compromised. They're gonna get their buttons pushed by this. So the Democrats are going to use that, and that's probably part of their plan too, to push on President Trump, make him look like the bad guy. Well, all of us know who the real bad guys are, right? The people that are consciously compromised don't understand, because they've been compromised, right? So that's why we need the med beds. So we got more time to uncompromise these useful idiots for the Democrat Party, right? So they're going to keep pushing that lie. So what a government shutdown means, lapse in funding occurs. So as you heard, they're going to have to start shutting down useless government programs, industries, and so forth, so that they can fund the real things that need to be funded, like Social Security, retirements, healthcare for seniors, all those programs that will have to be funded. So the only way to fund them is to find money, which this should have been done so long ago. If you're spending on your credit card and you reach your max, and somebody gives you another credit card, what are you going to do? You're going to max that puppy out too, aren't you? And that's what the federal government has been doing for a long time. We have to manage our budgets. The federal government just keeps on spending, print some more dollars, and keeps on spending, right? That's the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, part of the government, and they have no reserves, because President Nixon did away with the reserves, the gold standard, a long time ago, right? So back in 73. So we're going to see a collapse, possibly, of the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve is going to be exposed. It's not shutting down. Oh, that's because it's not part of the federal government. although it has that federal name in front of it. How about that? So exposure, taking down all of these programs that need to go away. So that's what we're seeing. I hope they never reopen the old government, right? Let's just do away with it and create something new and do away with all these useful idiots that are politicians, most of them, right? So, and I say useful idiots because most of them work for the deep state, right? So let's look at this other video. So many of us know that there are programs that will make sure everything keeps moving, because I remember some of this happening during Obama's term when the federal government was shut down for a very long time. There were a lot of programs that continued. So being in the CIA at the time, I got to see a lot of the stuff that worked behind the scenes, things that were able to keep going and things that, didn't. That's what we're going to see, as time moves forward. A lot of these programs that are corrupt programs that fund the deep state and does the will of the deep state, they're going to get exposed and they're going to weigh.
What's up, everybody? So government shut down first day. Now they're talking, you're starting to hear, oh, well, this is the way that we can streamline the government and we can really slim it down and blah, 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 blah. That's true. But let's talk about why. So with the government shut down, it's the requirement of the executive, along with the Army and the Marine Corps.
What? The Army and the Marine Corps? Wow. So we're seeing in a lot of these cities that the Army and the Marine Corps need to get more involved, aren't we?
To make sure that the nation still functions. That also means that they can move assets without congressional approval, because Congress is basically out the window.
So again, if the government shut down, the military steps in. Well, actually, the military stepped in when the election was stolen back in 2020. It's not over yet, right? So we're going to continually see these types of programs starting to filter in. And that's the military, because we're under pretty much military rule right now.
Here's what I found. With the government shut down, the U.S. Supreme Court doesn't exist. So it moves to the U.S. Marine Corps Division Main Court, justices or judges, and the Army Judge Advocate Generals, and the Air Force Judge Advocate Generals, depending on what jurisdiction we're talking about.
Oh, wow. You mean that we could actually start to have military tribunals during the shutdown? They have been going on, guys, for the most part. A lot of these people have been already taken care of. A lot of them, probably most of them. A lot of them have been taken to ships that are off the coast, and military tribunals have happened there. Military tribunals have happened in Guantanamo. There's people in Guam, all kinds of different places.
Whether it's space or air or land or sea, commercial, right? Which really, this isn't going to be space or air. Everything's really in maritime or.
So as we saw, obviously, New York is an extremely corrupt place. The air traffic controllers are going to be affected by this government shutdown. So I think it was last night, you had two planes collide, and I think a wing was torn off of one of those planes in New York. I don't know which one it is. It's LaGuardia, which one it is. But, I'm surprised they haven't really started, banging the drum about, that happened because of President Trump's, it's his fault that we have the government locked down, because they want to clean up the government and not let the Democrats steal, continue to run up credit card after credit card after credit card, right?
In federal.
So Awaken One's, everybody's saying LaGuardia. Okay, thanks a lot. LaGuardia.
Commercial. So right now, what can happen, like what's probably going to happen, and this is going to sound a little crazy, but this is what I see. The police forces, all law enforcement, is going to get moved to Division Main, Marine Corps, and they're going to be attached to as our law enforcement mechanism, and that will facilitate the re-establishment of the American militia, which starts with the veterans.
Wow. So that's very interesting, because we know that once things really start to kick off, we're seeing the very, very, very early stages of this in Portland, in LA, and other cities, that this is going to get a lot bigger, a lot bigger. It's going to get a lot bigger than our military can handle. So you're going to need former veterans like myself to form up militias to contribute. So that's what this is moving towards, this shutdown. It's very, very slick, very, very subtle. T3, you think 14 cities? I say at least 17, but I've heard some say 19 cities will be lost. But that remains to be seen. Hopefully no cities will be lost, but I'm pretty much sure that we're going to lose cities, Portland being one of them.
Second, and this is beautiful, transportation and transit will be taken away from the states, and they will be moved into North America. And that transportation transit system will operate under the Army Corps of Engineers. So remember back in the day, like we had the Army Corps of Engineers for the bridges. Well, now the Army Corps of Engineers is going to be over our bridges, our roads, all that stuff. That's transportation.
So we've heard that some of our major bridges, especially over the Mississippi, have been wired to blow, right? And they could have been wired to blow under the misguided assumption of those that were basically wiring them, that it was being done in case America were ever to be taken over by, some occupying force. So the people that wired it put the explosives in a lot of these bridges and so forth. These bridges need to be protected. So that's what you're seeing there, I believe. You're also seeing that will be a control point. If this happens, and it happens very quickly, and you start putting military into cities like we just saw in Memphis, because Memphis last night got military involvement in it. Of course, the Democrats hate that too. So you're seeing this slow creep at this point of the military coming into cities, guys. Now, these are cities that will support it to a certain extent. These are cities where the Democrats that are there in power are so weak that they can be basically put in their place because there's enough people there that want this to happen. So these are the things we're going to start to see gradually pick up pace. But imagine in these major cities like Chicago, which is probably really wired for a massive pushback and destruction, if we put military in there before it starts, preemptively, this would be the ideal. But you're going to run up against a mainstream media and all of these compromised Democrat, governors, mayors, senators, congressmen, and so forth, that are going to scream and yell and incite their populaces to push back, right? We already know that. So the only way we can overcome a lot of this is to start surreptitiously to put people in place. And now we're initially using it as gangs, violence, and so forth. But ultimately, we want the military and eventually militias to be throughout the country. Of course, that's not going to stay that way. It never will. It's sad that it has to be that way, but we know it has to be that way. But if it's preemptive, that's fabulous. And I just saw where this one Democrat woman was saying that they're not violent, that leftists aren't violent, and that if she had it her way, all guns would be taken away. I think that's great. I think wherever Democrats are right now, I think they should take those guns away ASAP. Let's let them rule right now. Let's let these leftist Democrats say no more guns, no more violence. Hoorah, hoorah, no more guns, no more violence. You know, they got their megaphones and they're marched through the streets in their crazy outfits and gray hair, pink hair, whatever they got going on. And we're like, yeah, that sounds good. It sounds really good, right? And then we take those guns away, and then we move in with our militia and the military. So that would be perfect. So I wouldn't doubt that we'll start to see in some of these blue cities, because some of these blue political types, I believe, have flipped, and they're going to start to work with the good guys. And part of that will be, well, look at all the violence. Let's take away the guns. Let's make sure there's no guns on the streets, because we know where the real violence comes from. And a lot of violence is stopped out by good people that own guns. They don't publish that at all. There's probably more violence that's stopped out by good people with guns than with bad people with guns, by far. I've seen those reports, but they never use those reports.
Okay, so the states and the local counties can't profit from them anymore with their buddy contractors, right? So that's going to happen. Public land and ground will be moved to judge advocate generals, and so will the probate courts. And this is the best part. Healthcare will be nationalized through the Army. EMS will be nationalized through the Army. Fire services, emergency response, emergency management, all weather, all that stuff is going to be through the Army.
Now, you just saw with Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, where he talked about how the standard is going to be raised. No more beards. You're going to have to get haircuts. You're going to have to do physical fitness tests twice a year, the way it used to be when I was in. It was like, what? What are you talking about? What happened? So there's a lot. I've already seen videos, of course, with these wokesters that are in the military that are like, I'm going to get out now because I got to shave my beard. Right? I'm like, please get your ass out now. We have a line of people ready to come in and take your sorry ass place. Right? So now we know that just a year or two ago, under the Biden administration, that they couldn't find enough people. The recruiting levels were extremely low. They didn't know what they're going to do. And then Trump comes in, and now they have the highest recruitment in the history of the volunteer force, in the history of it, right?
With the Marine Corps as the countersign. Okay? Sorry, something climbed my ear. So you're talking about national health care, bye-bye medical insurance companies. See ya. It was all for profit scam anyways. All these organizations, NGOs that were sponsored by Congress, no more NGOs, not unless they're for profit. 501c3 churches, you're gone. You're a business. No more tax write-offs, no more 501c3 churches. You're going to have to become an American religious establishment, or you're going to be recognized as a business. So it's going to be the keys. They gave them the keys to the kingdom. They gave the Army and Marine Corps, along with the executive, keys to the kingdom. It's going to be a whole new nation with a whole new reality, a whole new education system. Education, university education, that's over. That's going back to the military and the veterans. The colleges for the universities will stay for profit, the way it's supposed to be. And by the way, just so everybody knows, nobody ever got a university degree. You got a college degree that was sponsored by a university. according to my background check, I have a Bachelor of Laws from the University of Florida that was issued to me. But that is a Bachelor of Laws under English common law, which is actually a university degree, not a college degree. Got it? So let's see what happens. Get your popcorn.
All right. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Things are moving in the right direction. Now I was already onto this, and I just wait. It's like, okay, we're going to see this somewhere. And then when I see it, I pounce on it and release it. Sometimes I'm ahead when I'm absolutely correct, like the Charlie Kirk shooting, like the President Trump shooting. I'm on that right away, right? That's my forte. I'm an expert in those fields, and I call it out immediately when it's done, right? The PSYOP. So PSYOP, obviously, in both of those instances for a positive reason, just like the PSYOP with President Trump releasing the MedBed. You're going to get your card. You're going to be there'll be people going to the hospitals with the med beds in it, and everybody's like, oh, yay. And it's like, oh, it's AI. And then like, but it's real. You know, it's real. We know it's real. We know it's coming. But in the meantime, you know, there are alternatives. There's always alternatives. And we have those with the LifeWave. All right. So now we've just had a shocking shooting in England. All right. So we know that our Congress is basically on vacation because they're celebrating Yom Kippur. Right. So they're not working. So even if they could get together and maybe come to agreement, which it's kind of very skeptical. I'm very skeptical about that now. But maybe. And maybe they'll come back on Friday, tomorrow, because Yom Kippur is over. Jewish holiday. And, you know, so Jesus was a Jew. And who was it that voted for him to be crucified? Jews, right? We could say the deep state because I think it was a deep state all the way back then. And even Rome didn't like him. Remember, it was Pontius Pilate. He comes in. He was trying to like, come on, let this Jesus guy go. Everybody loves him. And they're like, no. He turned over our money tables, and we can't have him around. You know, everybody thinks he's a prophet, and you know, our king, you know, he doesn't like it because the king wants to be worshipped. Don't you have a religion where you worship a God, but the king is like, you know, killed little babies during the time frame where Jesus was born? So anyway, the Jews, the Khazari Mafia, I would say, all the way back then, had voted to have Jesus executed. So Jesus wasn't a Christian there, was he? No. So eventually there is this Christianity thing, right? There are people that, you know, Paul and all the other, disciples and so forth, all of them killed too. All right. Some of them even worse. Bartholomew, the guy, when you look at Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, as you're looking at the table where you see Jesus and Mary Magdalene sitting next to each other, on the far side, on the right side, is Bartholomew. Bartholomew was skinned alive for promoting Christianity, right? So when Michelangelo did the Sistine Chapel, and he shows Bartholomew in the Sistine Chapel, and he has a knife, the knife that was used to basically skin him alive, and it shows his skin. His skin is of the exact image, because Michelangelo didn't like to paint himself, is in the exact image of Michelangelo himself. Good look. Yes, I'm all into past life stuff. I see all this stuff. So anyway, you go deeper into this stuff when you do that, right? So some of us pick this stuff out. Some of us do the research, go deeper. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of people are all about this Israeli state. And so we have today in the UK, we had this synagogue murder, right? So a Muslim came in and murdered 2 people, and 2 people, I guess, are in critical condition, and 2 or 4 others are in bad condition. Immediately after that, because he was shot, because he had a, and I've been saying this, guys. I've been saying here in America, we're going to see explosive vests. They're coming. And in Manchester, this guy had an explosive belt on, and the police shot him dead. It looked like he was trying to activate it. He's trying to escape, and he couldn't escape, and it looked like he had his phone out. He was trying to activate the device. Kind of like that guy that was at Charlie Kirk shooting. Everybody looks over and see the guy in the brown. I think that guy's a Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL. And it looks like he's activating the device, the squib, right? So I think that we're going to see people start to pull away from the Israel thing, right? We have Tucker Carlson. We have Candace Owens. They've been kind of banging this drum for a little bit, but they're trying to like wake people up. And then you have the Christians that are compromised, I believe, compromised consciously compromised, right? That are coming in trying to say, oh, you can't talk about the Jews, right? Excuse me, but again, didn't the Jews kill Jesus, right? And I'm not banging on the Jews. Jews don't believe in Jesus, guys. Jews don't believe in Jesus. Hello, wakey, wakey. All right. Now, they believe that he was a great man. They believe that maybe he has power, some of them, but most of them I've already put this out many times. Jews, when they're walking by cathedrals, Christian cathedrals, they spit on the ground when they go by, right? That's been videoed for a long time. In Gaza, they're not just blowing up mosques; they're blowing up Christian churches in Gaza too, right? So they're starving the Palestinians to death. They're starving them to death. There's been a lot of people that have reported on this, and former military officers that are now going in to try and get food to the Gazans, right? So there's some problems here. So I see people. I just put up Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson had a very good video where he's like, yeah, you know, we need to really look at this, all right? And like I'm saying, we need to really look at this, because there is some kind of faction that are in a lot of these Christian churches that are pushing a narrative which doesn't belong here at all, right? Now we've just seen Bibi Netanyahu has said that they're going to pay $7,000 to influencers to promote the Jewish Israeli narrative and to go after people that speak out against Jews. I'm not speaking out against Jews. I'm speaking out against Gezerim Mafia, right? Where is Gezerim Mafia located right now? Go ahead, figure it out, all right? So, shocking video shows cop frantically warn crowd in Manchester synagogue attacker has a bomb, all right? So, now I'm not justifying the violence that this Muslim did. I think it's atrocious. I've seen this in my travels. It's not cool, right? So here you see the he's got the bomb belt, right? When I was in the Middle East, and the extremists basically came in, they would go into, oftentimes they go into markets where a lot of people were, and they blow their vest up, and they'd kill like 100 people, just in a market where people are shopping and so forth, buying food, buying clothes, whatever, whatever open air market, wherever people go to shop. And this was very common, still is. So here we're seeing it in the UK. So we've seen this illegal immigration coming in. Who funded it? Trump already pointed out the UN funded it. And they brought in a lot of people that don't do well with others. All right, that's the Muslims. They don't integrate. They come in, they don't assimilate, they take over. All right. And they've said this very often. This is another thing that we need to get clued up on. Not only with Israel being Khazarian mafia, but also with the Muslim community basically not integrating, right? Coming in and basically taking over. So that's what they're trying to do here in England. So 2 people were killed after a madman rammed his car into a crowd outside the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester before stabbing multiple worshipers who were marking Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year in Judaism. So it shows him here after he's been shot. Right. So let's look at, there's a video. Let's look at a little video on this as well. So this is reprehensible, obviously. Any group that targets another group and murders them, that's completely reprehensible. Now, if you're trying to save your life, right, and someone's trying to attack you and you kill them because they're going to kill you, that's okay, right? You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your family. You have to protect your community. This is what we're going to see through most of Europe and America and Canada and Australia and New Zealand and South Africa, right? This is coming. So let's look at this. Now, what happens right after this man goes on a murderous rampage?
Welcome back to 2CTV, your global news channel. We come to you guys with the follow-up live coverage coming from the UK after this morning's terror attack in Manchester at a synagogue on Yom Kippur. Of course, there is a lot to cover as we speak right now. There are riots across the United Kingdom, not by those who are against Islamists, but in fact, it's the Islamists themselves.
So that's pretty amazing how quickly they were able to, get together and start these riots, right? Very, very interesting, isn't it? So sounds like it was planned. Absolutely was planned. And so, again, we're going to see this manufactured, rioting from groups that feel they're underrepresented start to happen on a massive scale. It would not surprise me if the Khazarian mafia is involved in this.
Causing chaos. Let me show you the live feed that we currently have. Hang on. This is a big shout out to our friend Louis Arrington, who is now live from Westminster. Extremists. 2, of course, as you guys might already know if you've been following us all day, 2 of the victims, unfortunately, have been confirmed dead, and 4 remain in critical condition in the hospital. The hospitals in Manchester that were put on lockdown earlier today, they are no longer on lockdown, so that's good. And let's go and see what's going on in London.
So again, these are the people that have been illegally immigrated into England, and they're rioting for their rights to kill Jews, Christians, whoever they want to kill, because they don't support their way of life.
They caused chaos. Now they're out causing more chaos.
Now, if you've ever been to England, the English police are some of the nicest people on earth, right? Yes, they can just like any other police group, they can be corrupt in some cases, but all the police that I met in England were absolutely incredible and very, very nice gentlemen. You know, I think they have a very worldly view. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, in the UK are pretty much consciously compromised. All right. They've had thousands of years to figure this out and know how to do it. Those kings and queens of old. All right. So you're seeing all of the people that they have brought in to basically replace even those people that are consciously compromised, because they will be useful idiots until they're no longer can be used. Maybe some of them wake up and then they'll be taken out. But this Muslim crowd is who's going to replace them and who they plan to replace us.
Look at him. Push him back. They're going to throw things. Look, they threw something. Hang on, let me go back. They're going to throw things. Insanity. They can't even control anything, the police. It's absolutely embarrassing for the United Kingdom. Look at that.
So as you can see, they're waving Palestinian flags.
They don't even have enough members right now. They've completely taken control. We have the name of the suspect.
So this is multiple cities throughout England where these demonstrations and some places riots are happening by the Muslims.
Been fully occupied by the Islamic side, who are rioting and completely disrupted the train journeys of ordinary people in the country. Let's go to Glasgow.
Has stepped up security at synagogues across the whole of the country, and we will do whatever is required to keep our Jewish community safe. I know that there are many questions that are still to be answered.
Again, if you joined us late, we now have the identity of the attacker. His name is Jihad al-Shami. He was 35 years old, from Syria, but held a British passport. Then we got the Jews. We got there we go. They've arrived now to counter the Islamic side.
Communities like the one attacked in Manchester provided safety, but also the security that comes from a promise that this is a country that stands up to hatred, and that we don't just provide refuge, we provide a home for so many Jewish families.
All right, so there you go. Stormer basically saying that they're going to continue to bring in illegal aliens. They can kill people in their communities, but they're going to continue to bring them in, right? So that's pretty much the way things are in England. Fortunately, it's not like that here. President Trump has said he's not going to let any more Muslims immigrate into America. I think he's seeing the light, right? Seeing the light that a lot of us have been talking about for quite some time. Yes, Silver Flint, that's he is that thing, Right? So that delectable thing that women like to insert inside themselves, I guess. So yeah, he's one of those things. So maybe women would like that. Maybe women would like to have. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. So anyway, let's move on to the next subject. And so the National Guard training ahead of Portland deployment.
Many, many nights. Nick, thank you for being with us. And I wanted to start off this segment with something that I think is going to shock a lot of our viewers. I watched this on social media the other day. This is you being confronted by an agitator out in front of that ICE building who threatens you with violence. Listen here.
What are you doing? Why are you so mad? I didn't do anything.
You did.
What did I do?
Look.
I haven't done anything.
Look. Do not come back.
Watch out.
You come back, I'm going to smoke you, dude.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm
Why?
going to smash that camera.
You have DHS watching you right there, lasered on you.
I
You have a
didn't do
sniper lasered on you right
I
now.
don't give a. So he said that he is going to smoke you if you don't get out of there. And then it looked like DHS snipers came to your rescue. They zeroed in on him and lit him up with one of their lasers. That's what eventually got him to back.
So I think this guy, Nick, must have, he must be wired up for the sniper to be covering him, right? Department of Homeland Security. So from a distance, you're not going to be able to figure out what's going on. But if you have some kind of communication, maybe they said, hey, if you're going to go out in that crowd, we want to cover you. And so we're going to like put a device on you so we can hear what's going on. All right. So that's probably what happened. Or maybe it's coordinated for him to go in and see if they could, like, I wouldn't do that, but I'm not going to go into a bunch of crazies where you can never guesstimate what they're going to do. Like this guy says he's going to smoke him. Who knows what he's got? A knife. He's got a gun. He's got an axe. Who knows? That's pretty tough. That's journalism. That's very brave, but hopefully this guy, has more security coverage like that. Guys with sniper rifles as he goes in.
Down. But for people who say that there's not violence going on in front of these facilities, what do you say?
It's a complete lie. There's lots of violence going on. That's just one of the many threats I got that night. And when I was walking back to my car, another person pulled out their gun and threatened me, saying, "You want to be Kirk Jr.?" I mean, these people are very dangerous and they're unhinged. Just the other night, a woman got beat up. She got punched in the face out there.
So he's talking about a reporter that had a transgender, basically had some kind of sign and took the pointy end of the sign and poked her in the face with it, and her eyes all like black and blue now. But imagine that hit her in the eye. It would have taken her eye out. So they're unhinged. They're crazy people. And we really need the military to go in on a massive scale and just sweep the streets of Portland and not let any of these people back. All right. Arrest them, the homeless, the drug addicted, so forth. Get them help, get them out of the city. Don't let them come back. If they come back, then there's got to be a place where they get treatment. We have to do every city like that. We have to stop all the drug trafficking. I believe that Venezuela is going to get spanked, right? That's coming. But there's a lot of problems here in the United States. A lot. Now, imagine that you are a military that is occupying, which is basically what the cartels are doing to us, occupying a different country. You have to have supply routes. Somebody has to fund you. Somebody has to bring you more bullets, more whatever it is, more drugs, more children to traffic. All right. So there's supply lines. Now, Trump and the military have cut those supply lines at the border. So things are drying up. Things are starting to dry up. They're not having the drugs. They're not having the trafficking material. So all of these things are drying up. Maybe even the money that was going back and forth is drying up. So the guys on the other side of the fence are not very happy about it either. So they're trying to do the boats, Venezuelan boats, and they're getting smoked, right? And it's to the point now that they're not sending any more boats. I guess they got the message, right? So we have to, at some point, take out the people that are the kingpins, right? If you want to stop military, you have to go after the leadership, right? So that's what we've done. When I was in, the CIA, well, SEAL teams and the CIA, we focus on the leadership. And then the rest of the Army and the ground forces and so forth worked on the Army. But once the leadership is taken out, things start to completely collapse. Unless someone is ready to step up and assume that leadership role and is just as effective, it's basically destroying that army. So that's what we're seeing in America, the destruction of the cartels and the cabal in the cities, right? So it's a war. I mean, Trump has talked about it. I've talked about it. A lot of us have talked about how this is a war. And it is when you take it into that frame of reference, that frame of mind, right? So the war is ongoing. The war is intensifying. It's, we shut down their supply routes, that lines, and we're going after the most violent of their groups. Maybe in some cases we're getting some of the honchos, but for the most part, we still have a lot of work to do, right? We've been invaded by millions. There were millions before Biden. There was a cleanup process that was going on in Trump's last administration, but there's a lot of resistance to that. Now we're seeing that resistance starting to dry up as people are seeing the horrific conditions that, come on the other side of these cartels that come into the cities and start to run things, right? Colorado is a really good example. Colorado is collapsing on many different levels because they've let the cartels come in and run the situation. Because some of these politicians obviously get compromised in different ways. They get payoffs, and there's like, okay, we paid you all this money. Now you got to let more of us come in. Now you got to let us do the child trafficking. Now you got to let us do this. Now you got to let us do that. Oh, you want to resist? Oh, well, we're going to replace you. In the next election, we're going to decide who's going to be in your position, and you're going to be gone. And then it's going to not be very good for you, because with all the money you've made and all the things you bought, you're not going to be able to afford them anymore, right? So you're going to have to downsize. So a lot of these people are very egoic psychopaths, right? They'll do whatever they need to do to maintain that egoic fix, right? So this is some of the things that we're seeing. Of course, they use women to keep these guys in line as well. Remember Playboy, Hugh Hefner, that was all part, the Playboy bunnies all over the country. That was all part of, using, and not only those women, obviously, but obviously the people that were in corporations or politicians and so forth that visited those clubs, all this stuff. And then you have Jeffrey Epstein, and P. Diddy, and on and on and on. So it's being exposed. It's being taken down, the whole system, bit by bit by bit by bit. And so this shutdown is probably going to help accelerate it to a great extent. And the military, like we're talking about, will have to move in, because all of these programs are going to have to be shut down because we can't afford anymore, because the Democrats stopped all the funding. All right. So that's going to be used. And the Democrats, of course, aren't getting all of the, money laundering from child trafficking and drug trafficking and all the stuff they've been using it for. Right. And also for manipulating the stock market and crypto and all that kind of stuff. So they manipulate it up and down. It should be like just constant, but it like ramps up and it ramps down. It's manipulation. It's all manipulation, right? It's ridiculous. So yeah, everything has to come down. Right? So everything has to be exposed. All right. So one of those things, you know, as far as like the medical industry, which is being shut down, there are things out there that are helping people get off medications. Now, I've helped several people over the last, you know, several years. Just a couple more recently, were people, a couple, elderly couple, not that old, you know, around my age, that had some health issues. They were taking medications. And a lot of times when you take medications, you get complications from the medications, and then they give you another drug for whatever is ailing you. That's what the medical establishment does. They don't find and fix what the problem is. They keep medicating because they make money that way, and they medicate the medication that's causing issues. You can have all these, you know how they have the commercials and they talk real fast, and you can have you can have like but blindness and you know blah, 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 you lose your baby and blah, blah, blah. So that stuff starts to happen, and they're like, well, that's happening to you. You're all swelling up twice your size, so we're gonna like give you some stuff to like stop the swelling, and that makes them, they can't eat, but they keep swelling up, so they give them something else for that, and so eventually that person dies. All right. So these two people told me that they had watched me talk about LifeWave for quite some time, for about a year or so, and then they started using the X39. All right. So the X39, as David Schmidt is going to share with you, the inventor of LifeWave, and how did he get his start? In the Navy SEAL teams, right?
What type of products would I use? And, you know, hopefully those are going to be things other people are interested in. Like, for example, I don't want to age. And I'd be willing to bet there's probably a lot of people that feel the same way. So the thinking was that X39 was such a massive success that on a technical level, we got about 1/3 of the way to stopping aging. That's what copper peptide does. So it's not a complete solution for stopping aging, but it's certainly an indication that it might be possible. So then the question is, could we develop a technology that would allow people to stop and even reverse aging? That's the goal that we set in our research. When I'm working with our...
And that's actually the goal that they met. All right. So it's not stopping the aging process, it's actually reversing the aging process. And how does that happen? The X39 basically, copper peptide, activates your stem cells, and that helps you to overcome the aging process. So now med beds, wearable med beds, that's what we call it. It's actually, you know, quite effective. Now, something that is a problem is the energy that's coming into the earth right now. Now, what causes that energy to come into the earth right now? We're moving into a natural process. This happens for the earth and the sun on a continuing basis. If we're informed, if we're involved in the process, we can survive it and actually thrive. There are people in the past that you know, weren't informed and didn't thrive. And there's also, like I tease, that some people are consciously compromised. These energies that come in actually stop that compromising of consciousness, right? And that's another reason why the deep state is really active in trying to take us down. Now, Earth just had a massive charging event, and it lasted for 3 days, and it was a surprise. Now, over the last, up to this point right now, in the history, since we've been taking, you know, observations and so forth, I don't know how far back that goes, but in the history, since we've been taking these observations, we've had the most significant activity of earthquakes and volcanoes since these things have been taken, right? But I guarantee you, we have a lot more coming.
right now at the end of a super long geomagnetic storm. It's been nearly 3 days of intense magnetic fluctuations that have been sweeping across the planet much longer than normal. This is, in fact, the longest geomagnetic storm of 2025, in addition to one that hit us back in June. And that one was slightly stronger in its intensity. It was also very long duration, about 72 hours of geomagnetic storming. But those two storms have been the longest in duration of this year. The difference is a storm back in.
Now he's going to go in what happened the last time this type of energy came into Earth. So this energy, when it comes into Earth, it's not like it's you stick your finger or you stick a bobby pin into an electric socket and you get shocked. Basically what it does, it comes into the Earth and it starts to build and it builds and it builds. And then eventually it comes out, and it comes out in the form of earthquakes, volcanoes, and hurricanes, right? So that's what we've been seeing on a massive scale.
June wasn't really a surprise. This one was. It kind of came out of nowhere. There are a variety of explanations.
There are a variety of explanations. So even as this natural cycle happens, process that has been predicted throughout time, but because the deep state basically controls our educational system, we believe that it is something that we can't, predict, right? Unless you're like me, you're like, you feel these energies and you're like, this is not good. Things are going to be happening, right? So there is a science behind this, and some of the science is starting to be exposed. Of course, it gets attacked. Some of the people that have been exposing this have been killed in the past, but there's enough of this has been leaking. It's making a difference. Some of the people that have been, telling people how these energies work, how the energies move around the planet and so forth, they're constantly attacked. Their sites go down, just kind of like me when I started, pushing, don't get vaccinated, use hydroxychloroquine, natural healing methods, get out in the sun, blah, 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 and it got shut down. So there is information that has been coming out for a long time. I've been following it. I've been part of it. But there is a lot of people that, because it wasn't taught to them in school, it doesn't exist, right? Because they haven't heard it before, and just some guy that was a Navy SEAL or some guy that, Stefan Burns, what's his background? Does he have a major university backing him? Does a government back him? No. So a lot of people are consciously compromised on this information, but you're going to find out. You're going to find out. A lot of people are finding out that there's some serious issues that are happening right now. Now, did the deep state do something to make the Earth or the sun kick off more energy? I don't think they control everything, guys, but they can spin things a little bit more, and I think they're doing it right now.
And understandings of what may have caused it. I talked about that in yesterday's video, but in general, it was certainly a bit of a unexpected shakeup. Solar wind velocity went over 800 kilometers per second at one moment, which is very fast, indicating that some sort of plasma wave of high velocity hit us. It could also be a high-speed stream. That's what NOAA is saying. But if you look at the sun, this is going all the way back to the 25th of September. Where's the coronal hole? We don't really see it. I mean, yeah, little things, but nothing that should have given us a G3 storm that overall lasted 72 hours. Now, we do have this coronal hole coming up here. This is our favorite coronal hole. I think this is the 14th rotation of this one.
So the normal things are called these G3 storms that eventually lead to earthquake activity, volcanic activity. And during this process that it was coming in, it was kicking off a lot of energy. I'm going to show you how Kilauea was fountaining lava like it's never fountained before.
Now, you'll notice at the very end of this video, it's not yet geoeffective. So that's not what hit us. We're about to get hit by that. And so you add in all these factors together, and we are in an earthquake watch. And in fact, I think there is a much higher risk of there being a megaquake in the near future. I would say for the month of October, I know it's kind of a wide time window, but the forecasts that we do here are not ultra precise because that's really, really difficult to do. Basically, no one does it. We look at the space weather factors, the current energetic conditions here on Earth, and just look at the overall seismic rhythmic trends that exist. And that has allowed us to be fairly accurate at forecasting earthquake trends at a global scale, which is the first step to then becoming more granular. So we have this ultra long duration geomagnetic storm that's just now wrapping up. That means that a bunch of energy basically got moved around in the earth, because when you have a fluctuating magnetic field, now you have these really powerful electric currents that are flowing.
All right, so these powerful electric currents that have come into the earth are going to have an outlet, and it's a megaquake. Megaquakes, I've been talking about megaquakes coming. We're going to talk a little bit more about a megaquake and what that might look like for the United States. All the way back in 1964, I was 4 years old. I don't remember it, but Alaska had a massive 9.2 earthquake. There were in South Africa, the energy of it, basically the way it moves through the earth and it moves through water and so forth, it moved well water in South Africa, in Louisiana, in bays in Louisiana. I'm going to show you this effect that happens. And it basically caused this sloshing effect, and it sunk boats in Louisiana from an earthquake in Alaska. It was a big earthquake, and we're due for one off the coast of the United States. All right. So let's look at, some of the things that are happening right now as far as the weather, and then we're going to look at the volcanoes and earthquake activity. A little bit of educational process. You need to be educated so that you can respond with a little common sense, right? So otherwise, you're going to be compromised. You're going to get compromised by this, guys.
And a major 6.9 magnitude earthquake strikes central Philippines, killing dozens. And we've
all right, so dozens of people were killed in the Philippines while this G3 storm is happening, impacting the earth.
got two hurricanes off the East Coast, Imelda and Humberto.
All right, so you got two big hurricanes off the coast of America, which we've seen a lot of hurricanes this year, 2 Cat 5s now, and they didn't impact, well, indirectly. We're going to see that there was an indirect impact from these storms in North Carolina. Imagine, because one of those storms was supposed to come into South Carolina, North Carolina area, right? But surprisingly, even though everybody's, forecasting it's coming there, it turned and went out to sea. All right. That's a good thing. But still, will the White Hats be able to continue to do the right thing with it? Yeah, they will, if they know it's coming. If it comes very rapidly and there's a lot of force and a lot of energy and so forth, or other things that are happening somewhere else, some of these can get through, guys. So we have to be aware of that.